A good prank is mischievous, satirical, and even surreal. Unlike a practical joke, a well-executed prank makes us laugh, question, think, and take notice. Cunning pranks are the tradition of Jonathan Swift, P.T. Barnum, Ken Kesey, Sacha Baron Cohen. The work produced by John Hargrave, Alan Abel, and Charlie Todd is clever and provocative. It raises ideas about media credibility and public gullibility. Their activities require them to be multimedia artists and performers, as well as planners and organizers.
My name is John Hargrave. I lead a strange dual existence. By day, I am a mild-mannered family man. I have a home in the suburbs, 2 kids, and a lawn that I take great pride in. By night, I am a prankster, hoaxer, con artist, and swindler. During the day, I have a respectable day job at a local advertising agency. And by night, I'm seeking to undermine the very system that I'm building during the day. I'm fighting against the man at the same time that I am the man. Well, I'm a prankster. I was born on April Fool's Day. This is true. And have made a name for myself doing these crazy stunts, pranks, and kind of social experiments. I've been fortunate over the years to find a dedicated team of very funny improvisational comedians and writers and generally crazy people who work with me and help me carry out many of these pranks and stunts. We did one prank where we orchestrated a public appearance of Michael Jackson here in Boston while he was living in Bahrain. So we pulled together this entourage of people. Moses Blumenstiel, who, a tall, lanky man who looks nothing like Michael Jackson, played Michael Jackson. We had hired a small Hispanic midget to play his son, and we thought we would put the midget under a blanket, just like Michael Jackson's kids. And we had a complete entourage.
We're going straight out to the curb.
We're going straight out to the car. Everybody, this is the real deal. And I played his handler. I was dressed in a suit and tie with a clipboard and a little earpiece, and I walked around looking very important in managing the great Michael Jackson. People are much more likely to believe in a hoax or a prank if there are many people working on it together as a team. So on the big night of the hoax, it was very exciting. We were at the Fairmont Copley Plaza Hotel. Happens everywhere, doesn't it?
Insane.
Everybody ready to have a great night out? Beantown. And then a completely coincidental thing happened. Gladys Knight was actually going to be at the hotel performing a big charity fundraiser. So, dressed as the handler, I went to the main press person in charge of the Gladys Knight concert. I said, Michael Jackson's going to be in town. He would really love to come and watch the show if there's any way we can get him into the concert. And, of course, at the name Michael Jackson, everybody jumps into place. Everybody wants to make this happen. They gave us a private balcony area where we were allowed to view the concert from our own sectioned off seating. Beautiful seats. This was a $10,000 a plate charity fundraiser that they ushered our entire entourage in for free. They were waiting on us hand and foot. The woman came up to me and she goes, "Can we get you anything else? Does Mr. Jackson require anything?" And I said, "A bowl of nuts." Just the first thing that came to my head. And like 5 minutes later, they show up with this enormous bowl of nuts. And I thought to myself, being a celebrity is the easiest fucking job in the world. The next day, it was on the front page of the Boston Herald. All the newspapers, all the news stations reported that Michael Jackson had showed up at the Gladys Knight charity concert. It is the biggest thrill to pull off one of these hoaxes. It's just enormously fun. Your adrenaline is pumping. Your mind is racing. You're trying to think of all the different things that could go wrong or could happen at any minute. And it's the biggest rush. It really is like trying to rob a bank. It's like the legal version of trying to rob a bank. Nobody gets hurt, nobody gets stolen from, but you're trying to somehow break into the system. It's very exciting.
Media are always fair game. My goodness, look what they do. The poor mother has just lost her child. They got the microphone right in her face. Well, how do you feel now? I know it's been a couple hours since your baby died, but we got to know your true feelings. Because we're on the air, we're competitive, we need the ratings, we need the money, we need the advertisers. This is unbelievable. This is reprehensible. Well, they did a special, this is about 6-7 years ago, they did a documentary on women's breasts, where they talked about, with women interviewed, they talked about their breasts. And it was a very legitimate type of documentary. And it was also a bit blatant because you saw women's breasts. Then after it was so successful, they decided to do one on men's genitalia. I figured all these guys out there are going to call in and brag about their prowess. So I called in as the smallest in the world, 1/2 inch in the Guinness Book of Records, and they bought it. And that brought on syndicated articles around the world, and then HBO was very, very upset until the ratings went up when they showed it. In fact, it was so popular that first week they showed it every night then. I walked into the Olive Garden, of all places, and got a standing ovation.
Having the world's smallest penis?
Yes.
My penis is about half the size of this cigar when it's erect, and it's rather tiny. In fact, I could probably be in the Guinness Book of Records, but I would never put myself on the block, so to speak.
They tried to take me out, but they couldn't do it because I was intercut throughout the show. I had about 20 minutes of the full hour of the documentary. Every 10 minutes they come back to me to comment on what had just happened. At the very end, they gave me the finale with the Stars and Stripes playing as I explained what it was like for the smallest penis in the world to have an orgasm. And I equated it to taking Iwo Jima, going up the hill, planting that flag up there. And you keep going, you never stop, and you feel so excited as you reach your climax, you know, and the Stars and Stripes are like underneath. That's where they ended the documentary. It's really quite a hysterical, I think, one.
I've always been a big Andy Kaufman fan. I think in college I read Bob Zamuta's book on Andy Kaufman, which talks about a lot of the street pranks that they would do. Those guys would just be, you know, out late at night and go into a diner on the side of the road and pretend to be something they weren't and get into some kind of crazy situation. So reading that book in particular and learning about a lot of the underground stuff that Andy did really influenced me.
In a minute, we're going to synchronize our watches, and we're going to go over there, and there's going to be a set time where we're all going to shop in slow motion. After that 5 minutes is up, we're going to freeze in place for 5 minutes.
customer, and she was like, did you see those 3 people walking in slow motion? I'm like, what are you talking about? She's like, they're walking like this.
For me, the most important thing, the secret to a good prank is that the prank is as much fun for the victim of the prank as it is for the prankster. So when I'm designing pranks, I always try to design things that are going to be fun for everybody involved. Both the people who are fooled, the public who experience it, the people who have just found out about me through the internet or coming on blind fates or participate in something. Like, I want it to be a fun, good experience for everyone. So one of my more well-known pranks is my fake U2 concert, which I called Even Better Than the Real Thing, which I held right here in this roof. And you can see Madison Square Garden is right there across the street from this apartment building, which is where I live. And on May 21st, I believe it was, of 2005, U2 was playing the first of 6 sold-out gigs at Madison Square Garden. So it occurred to me U2 should do a show on my roof an hour before the real U2 show across the street.
Where we're meeting is 8th Avenue between 29th and 30th Street. There's a Chinese food restaurant called Home on 8th. It's right above that. And we're going to be in the parking lot across the street. So just act like you would normally do.
The police came up on the roof and shut us down. They cuffed fake Bono and they cuffed me. They cuffed fake Bono because when the cops asked for his ID, he said, "I don't need an ID, everybody knows who I am." So he stayed in character as Bono, which was a pretty dumb thing to do, and that's what got him handcuffed. There was no way I was going to let my friend be handcuffed while I stood by and watched when the whole thing was my fault. So the cop was like, "Oh, okay, handcuff this guy too." So that's what happened.
I had a backer for a short period of time from 1965 until 85. He passed away in 85. But in 65, he came along and financed the campaign to clothe naked animals. I wanted to do something larger, so he financed the publication of a magazine that sold about 1 million copies called Inside Cine. The next day at lunch, he said, "I'm going to Florida if you need money for anything." I made millions. I founded the Book of the Month Club years ago, and I got lots of royalties, and if you need a check for anything. So when Idi Amin was going to get married to a wasp, supposedly, I called Max and said, "We need a wedding at the Plaza. It costs $30,000, $40,000. And then I said, "Idi Amin's on the run. He just scourged his country, Uganda. Now he's down there safely in South Africa, Cape Town, and every week his plane with diplomatic immunity goes to Miami, picks up champagne, cigars, women, whatever they want, flies it back, and nobody can touch them." And Max said, "That's outrageous. Our State Department should really be given a shot for that." And I said, "Okay, why don't we have him sneak into the country, apparently, on that plane, take the bus to New York and marry a young lady from Long Island, especially if she's Jewish." And he said, "Love it, let's do it." I found Amin on the subway. I'd go there for my casting. And a 250-pound guy, 6'4", and I said, "Do you want to be in a little scenario before the press?" And he said, "What do I have to do?" I said, "Just keep your mouth shut and look mean." He said, "I can do that." And so we had a uniform with medals, and we ran in all the news. Anyhow, the State Department showed up, the FBI, the CIA, for the wedding. And we had state officials, the politicians, we had the sheriffs, we had police. They were all concerned that somehow Amin had slipped into the country and was going to become an American citizen. So it did what Max Sackheim vicariously wanted to enjoy, embarrassing the State Department for allowing this genocidal maniac to come to Miami, or his plane did, and without any scrutiny, and go back. And it ended, as a matter of fact, when then the real story came out in Time magazine a few weeks later, and Amin was shut off with no, his plane was not allowed to land. But, yeah, so we accomplished our mission. I'm ready. If someone recognizes me on camera or elsewhere, I'll confess. I'll do it right now. We're on camera. I confess. Yes, I did it. So it's all a fake, believe me.
I did this prank called the Celebrity Sincerity Experiment, where I posed as a dying 12-year-old girl. I made up a fake disease of the pancreas, and I sent out letters to prominent celebrities around the globe who are actively involved with social causes like Madonna and Bono and Jerry Lewis, a lot of these kind of bleeding heart types. And as a control experiment, I also sent out a letter to Charles Manson, because I thought, let's see how Manson responds, and let's see how the rest of the bleeding heart celebrities respond. And I got a few responses from some of the celebrities. Sent back the dying 12-year-old girl an autograph photo or a little note of support or good wishes. But the best gift of all was sent by none other than famed criminal Charles Manson. Here's how it works. I have a fake P.O. box set up where I carry off a lot of my mail pranks. And I received a little slip that said I had an oversized package. I took it up to the mail counter, where the mail clerk brought me back this large package that said in disturbing hand-scrawled font, Manson. And the package said, "Do not open till Christmas." I can't tell you how terrified I was of that package, but I obeyed the instructions. Because the last thing I'm going to do is double-cross Charlie Manson, right? If he tells me to wait till Christmas, I'm going to do it. And finally, on Christmas Day, whole family gathered round, and I go out in the street and I don protective gear and goggles and a helmet, because I don't know what's going to come out of this thing. And slowly, carefully, with the precision of a surgeon, I saw through the multiple layers of packing tape, and I find macaroni. See, all this time everybody thought he was a dangerous serial killer, and he's actually a master Italian chef. But inside the macaroni, I dig down and I find 3 beautiful, perfectly handcrafted jewelry boxes for this poor, dying 12-year-old girl with a diseased pancreas. So here you have all of these celebrities who donate millions of dollars to charitable causes. And the person who sent back the most thoughtful gift of all was Charles Manson. From Manson, Christmas 2005. We're comedians. We like to make people laugh. That's what I'm really in it to do, is to make people laugh, maybe to make them think, but to give people a good chuckle during their miserable, everyday, boring lives.
Yeah, I mean, I think if there is a philosophy behind Improv Everywhere, it's just a philosophy of reclaiming public spaces. And the way it works is every January, I get a large number of people to ride the 6 train here in Manhattan in their boxer shorts. And we coordinate it so people get on at every stop. So if you're in one car, the train pulls into the station and somebody walks in their boxer shorts. And they're wearing a winter coat and a scarf and a hat and gloves, because it's freezing outside in January, but no underwear. No pants. They are wearing underwear. And then, the next stop, somebody else will come on in their underwear. And then the next stop, 2 people come on, then 4, then 8. And it just builds and builds and builds, where there's a train car full of people in their underwear. And the climax is always somebody comes through the doors with a big duffel bag vending pants for $1. So that's the punchline, is somebody comes in and sells pants for $1, everybody buys a pair of pants. It just gets off the train and walks away. And we don't know each other either. Like when there's 30 people with their pants off in the train, nobody's talking to each other. You're reading our magazines or listening to our iPods or whatever. She took up the entire train car, not just one car, but all 10 cars. And one rookie cop just happened to see this train pull into a station where he just happened to be standing and saw these people running around in their boxer shorts, and for some reason decided that was a crime and stopped the train, made everybody get off, us and all of the normal people who were just trying to get home. It was actually right at the time where everybody was buying the pants and putting their pants back on, so there were just 8 unlucky people who hadn't gotten to their pants yet. And we stopped them, they were handcuffed, 6 of them were taken down to a holding cell. Like, it was really ridiculous. And he called for backup, and before we knew it, there were 25 more cops, and it was just, and there's, hundreds of people on the platform because we'd all been kicked off the train. Like, it was really bedlam and kind of a dangerous scene, having that many people, running around. And what he had interrupted was not dangerous at all. It was just a very fun, harmless prank. So we ended up going to court for that, and everything was dismissed.